Thank you.
You see them all right, or is there glare? You can adjust this.
I was watching the snow actually over the top of your heads.
Someone should talk. That's pretty cool. Everybody muted? Oh dear. What's going on here? Jane?
It's loading.
Is everybody muted? The only person I hear is you. Really?
Okay, we're not muted again. There are 55 people on this. I don't know where all the other people are, but
Everyone, we are waiting to get the sound set up, and unfortunately, we're having a little difficulty doing that. So please stand by, as they say, okay? If you just heard what I said, give me a thumbs up.
Oh,
Great.
all right. Can you mute me? Awesome. I think you guys can hear me. All right. Maynard, can you hear me? I see you. Oh, I can see him. All right. Awesome. Well, welcome. Sorry that we're 10 minutes late, but thank you for joining us for, and I should probably, the 271st annual meeting of First Parish. We do have a quorum. A quorum for us is 25 members, and we'll go through and count folks that are members. And if there are two of you behind the screen, we'd love to see both of you so that we know that you are here with us. I'm just going to take us quickly through the agenda. John is sharing that on his screen. If you can either look at your screen, or if you've printed out the annual meeting notes or the annual report, we do have a quorum today. Christine will lead us in our convening prayer. We'll review the minutes from February 2020, which will be up on the screen that John will share. We will then review the reports from the lead minister, the associate minister, the church clerk, which was an interim. So we can probably hang tight and we don't need to do that one. And then the reports of boards and committees. If you would like your report to just stand as was printed in the annual report, you can unmute yourself and state that. And then if anyone from the congregation has questions for those specific reports, we would be happy to field those at that time. We'll then move on to the report out on church finances, review the proposed budget for 2021, hear from Kim Megason around the nominating committee, and the installation of our new church leaders. And then we will wrap up and then finalize with our benediction. I'd like to say, do you have any questions? So I guess if you have anything, you can chat it. We are monitoring the chat box, so if you do, I see you, Allie, and John here as well. So if you do have questions, we'll monitor the chat box, and then we ask for your patience as we do conduct our first ever virtual annual meeting. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Christine to lead us in an opening prayer. I'm going to need to do there. Yep. Switching. Yep.
Before we convene here, what I'd like to do is also read the list that is provided in your annual report, if you have that or able to access that, of those members who have died in the past year. And remember those: Marjorie Larrabee, Betty Files, Edith Grant, Jay Banks, Francis Boothby, Charlie Mosier, Jacob Dupuy, Henry O'Neill, Sandra Johnson, and Paul Frisco. Let us gather together and let us pray. Gracious God, as we gather together this year and this day, as those before us for the past 271 years have done, and we anticipate that we will do in the years to come, God, we are thankful. We are thankful to be in such a great line of people who were committed to being your people in this place and in whatever time they were in. Be with us as we gather together to do this kind of worship, which is a work of details together. And yet what calls us is the same, no matter what work we engage in. Be with us as we hear all of this and as we think forward into the future. Thank you for the great cloud of witnesses that surround us right now, not only those whose names we have read, but as we're surrounded by these blue ribbons, those that have passed away, those members of our state and indeed even of our nation and the world from COVID this year. Be with us as we remember and as we work forward together. All this we ask in your name. Amen. And then I sit down, right? Yes, I sit down.
John, would you share the minutes when you have a moment?
I'm gonna be doing-
Just say that we're putting the minutes up
Yep.
right now.
The minutes should be shared to the screen momentarily. Awesome. And then, yep, I'm just gonna go through and I'll probably just read them. I took these minutes last year, so hopefully they're short and sweet. We'll see. So thank you. I hope folks can see those. So last year we had over 776 folks present. 25 was required for quorum. Our moderator, Steve Smith, thanked everyone for the work that they've done, in addition to transitioning to me as the moderator. Who knew what the year would hold? Christine led us in our prayers. We approved the meeting minutes from February 3rd of 2019. We did make an edit, and those are now filed in the office. Pastor Christine reviewed her report from last year, and David Farrington reviewed his report that was included on page 7. I just want to pause for a minute before I continue. If you have any questions or edits to those parts of the minutes, at the end of the scrolling and discussion, we're going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. So I'm going to just check the chat. Any comments from folks? Okay, seeing none. You'll remember last year we did a review and approval of our bylaws. So we described the process that folks had gone through over the past couple of years. We walked through the flow chart. We reminded folks that these are living and breathing documents, and if you have ideas, to bring those to the executive committee. There were suggestions to ensure that there was communication between the boards and the boards to the congregation. B suggested that we change parishioners to friends, which that edit was made and filed with the office. B had a recommendation around ensuring the deacons had the support they needed for some of the functions that were listed within the bylaws. Lisa brought up the potential conflict of interest related to the Pastoral Relations Committee, given the lead minister would approve the nomination. But this was the gold standard that the UCC has at a national level. We edited a typo on page 14, and then it was finalized with a motion. Probably not quite finalized. It might continue to the next page. Lisa amended. Yep. So any comments or questions about the part about the bylaws before we move to the report outs?
I have a question. This is Deanne.
Okay. Seeing none. The next section was around the report out. Most of the committees asked for us to review the written reports as printed in the annual meeting. I would like to report or draw your attention to a request from the Board of Deacons around assuring that the funding from the various services like Christmas Eve is retained in the Deacons Fund. So we did capture that last year. The Board of Trustees, I see Deanne has a question. Deanne, you had a question around the transition to friends from parishioners last year, and it was edited in the bylaws. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question. I don't know if Glennis, you'll hear her, or if we'll hear her up here, but.
I'll have to bring the line up
Okay.
on the television.
I just mean, are we not referring to ourselves as parishioners anymore? Or was it for a different purpose?
It was. We had to mute the TV, so I don't get the feedback. It was a transition in the bylaws to, instead of, we referred to as members of the church, I believe, and parishioners could be anyone. The parishioner term, I think, was too narrow for, and I don't have the bylaws in front of me, otherwise I could probably highlight where we changed it, but instead of listing parishioners, we changed that to friends of First Parish, not just, you don't have to be a parishioner to be join our services.
Right.
Is that-
Because there are actually some positions you can be on in the church, and you don't have to be a member.
I'll just repeat what Christine said. I'm not sure if you guys can hear her. There are positions within the church, being part of committees, et cetera, where you do not have to be a member of the church. So we wanted to make sure that the bylaws allowed for that flexibility. Does that
Thank you
work,
for
Dan?
explaining. Great.
Thank you. All right, just checking. All right, John, if you can just scroll down to the finances portion. Okay. Actually, go up one more. I thought it might continue the next page. All right. Thank you, John. So again, we reviewed the report of the finances and the proposed budget for 2019, which was approved. The nominating committee recommendations for officers and committees was approved. We installed the new church leaders, and then a motion to adjourn the annual meeting was carried, and we finalized with a benediction. So, any final questions from folks on the minutes? Anything inaccurate? Any additions from 2020, February of 2020? Okay. Seeing none and hearing none, I'm going to ask if there is a motion to approve the minutes. I see David Gray. Do I have a second? Barbara? Excellent. And then Well, what I'll do is I'll scroll here, and then if you guys could just hold your hands up, because I need a general quorum, 25 of you to all in favor. All right.
Can you scroll through, John? Yeah, no, I'm fine. I can just, we don't need to count. We just need to see it's a majority. Yep, we're good. We have a majority of people.
Awesome. Thank you all as we figure out the Zoom annual meeting process.
Only if there's a division of the house. that we need to-
Okay. All right. So Christine, you are up with the report of the lead minister.
No, that's okay. I'd rather see people. Then they don't need to read it anyway. So my report is before you as written. I just have to tell you a little bit. Just to spend a few minutes, I had to laugh. I went back and looked at last year's and went, oh, that's right. I totally forgot that what I wanted to do was use a similar form every year to really talk about how we're doing, which also mirrors the narrative budget that you will also find in the annual report. And reading it, I just had a laugh. You know, it being COVID, what we had, you know, till March 15, 2.5 months of it, and then it just all got blown to pieces. And yet I look at it, you know, the areas that were the focus areas, inviting inclusive spirit-filled worship. Did we have any idea what that was going to really mean this year? And I think we managed to pull that off, given the technology that we had to deal with and our current situation. So just thank you to everyone. And we're going to still be using some of it this year. We're still using it now, doing this the way the first time. We've got the garden booked, tree worgy for as soon as it's kind of warm enough to be out there, we can be back together. And then hopefully in the fall we'll be back. But we know that Zoom is now with us so that all that can't be with us can join. And that, to me, makes it even more inclusive, besides some of the other things that we have. Nurturing people along in their faith journeys. We're just so I'm so thankful to Hal for pulling the kids together, especially, but also the missions committee for doing the 1619 project and just anything that we could work on together. I saw even our coffee chat, I didn't put in that, was a group of people together that really became meaningful at this time, and that anyone's welcome to join. And then I'm just stunned as a minister how much we have been able to live outside these walls, even when we were called to stay inside our home walls. And I'm just so impressed to be part of a congregation that really works hard to do that vision and to keep that going. And then I add the administrative level. This has been, you know, a crazy situation for me, even though I was talking with Naomi before we started today, and she's only setting up 3 vaccine clinics. So I got nothing to say when it comes to what Naomi's dealing with. But just how we've all just rolled with the punches, tried new things, set up a site so we could do our Christmas fair even. We've just taken advantage of this situation as much as we can and reached out. One thing I was reminded of the other day, we just got an email from somebody last week that said, you know, I've been watching your recordings of worship on Sunday on either Facebook or YouTube and seeing your stuff on Facebook for Wednesday. Could you send me the link? I want to come live Sunday now. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how we have lowered the bar for people to see if we're the kind of people they want to hang out with and do their spiritual life with, especially on Sunday, but other times too. Before you had to have the guts and walk in this sanctuary, which is tough, and meet, you know, about 100 new people who will come up and shake your hand and talk to you. Now people can do it in this kind of lower key way and then decide to be with us. So we've just opened up some things. So that's how I see this year, even though it has been a struggle sometimes, and we've had sadness in it, we've had joy in it, but most of all, we have worked together to be God's people, and for that, I am so thankful to be your minister. Are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions? I realize I took off. Usually on Sunday morning, you don't get to ask questions. So, does anybody see anything in the? Nope. Okay. Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the report out from, whoops, let me take my mask off. So used to wearing a mask. Our report out from our associate minister, and I just scrolled through and I don't believe that David is on, but I did want to just remind folks that David is at North Gorham for his time. We still have the partnership agreement with them, but he is now supporting North Gorham solely and not going back and forth between First Parish and with Christine. Are there any comments or questions about his report in the annual report? No, I think you're all set. Okay. So the report out from the church clerk, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Kim Megason for, oh, you want to see the report on the screen? Yes, John, hit it. It's coming, Beverly. So I did want to take a minute to thank Kim Megason for filling in as the interim clerk, and a huge thank you to Linda Sanborn for accepting that role this next year. Being a moderator and a clerk at the same time was a little too much, so I appreciate the assistance. I also just wanted to pause for a moment and thank all of the staff, 4 of them here now. They're not even staff, they're volunteers, some of them, most of them, for bringing us through what was 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and like we're on a year. I told Christine I wasn't gonna cry, but maybe by the end I will. I think we're incredibly fortunate to have the group that has supported the transition from a, I would say, technically archaic parish to one that, I mean, guys, there's a huge television screen in front of me. We've got a camera, we have a soundboard, and we were able to translate all of this to outdoor services. I mean, how amazing was it to be in the gardens for several services this summer. So thank you all for your flexibility. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being innovative, supporting one another, supporting our community. I actually could not be more grateful and proud to be a member of this parish. So again, thank you. And I probably should stop now and turn it over to Hal and Terry for our, let's go in the order by which they appear in the annual meeting, which will be different, in the annual report than they appear on the agenda. So Hal and Misty, if you have anything about your report, I'd ask that you unmute yourselves and share anything.
No, thank you, but report as stands, as written.
Same here. Just thank you to everyone who has been supporting faith exploration.
Wonderful. Thank you both. All right. Hal and Terry, you're up again. A report from the Board of Deacons.
Terry, are you there? Can you hear us now? No, the report as stands, I just want to kind of say that we are going to be having some good conversations. This pandemic has accelerated kind of like the rest of the church, accelerated the conversation around and the reality of what it means to be a deacon in moving forward, what is always going to be a hybrid congregation, and how we can effectively do that. We will be functioning, as it says, with 8 deacons for now, because we can get the job done without being in the sanctuary. But we are, the nominating committee and the deacons will have our eyes and ears open for people, as well as once we have our conversations about what the future kind of looks like and how we kind of reconfigure the care group stuff, what it looks like to have 8 deacons. Thanks.
Thank you, Hal. And thanks, Terry, and thank you to Nan and Karen as well for getting us through those early months of COVID with the deacons. So next report, the Music Committee.
Afternoon, everybody. I think the report stands as read, but I really would like to give a applause to John, Allie, the Ramkunas family, and Eric for keeping us going during the whole time we've been away from the sanctuary.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, the Board of Trustees, and I don't know if I saw Neil on or if there is a designee from the Board of Trustees. I know Phil is on. I saw him. All right, well, we will let this stand as printed in the annual report. Next slide, John. Oh. All right. Okay, Amy, anything you'd like to report from the Board of Missions?
No, nothing new to report. So the report stands as written. I just want to say a huge thanks to the congregation for all their support so that all the programs that missions overseas could take place this year. So thank you so much. I think Bruce Webb might want to talk though about environmental justice.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Yep.
I'm online. Can you hear me?
We can.
I want to just respond briefly to the information that's in the annual report. I guess the biggest item that I wanted to report was the applying for the, are you getting echo?
Lynn, if you guys can mute the other computer that's in your house.
Okay, I'm moving. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. We applied for electric vehicle charging grant by Efficiency Maine and received that those funds, and the construction on the EV chargers will begin in a couple of weeks, actually, for the inside work. So you can read some of the other items there that we've been working on. One of the major things that I'd like to ask today that is that the church accept or endorse the climate action plan, the 4-year climate action plan that was issued in December. This would position us well in the community as a environmental justice church. So that's my main request for today. There's also a link at the bottom of the page if in the annual report if people want to review that information. The executive summary is included in the report.
So the committee moves that the church endorse
Okay.
that plan. You can ask for a second. John, can you stop sharing so we can?
So following the Roberts rules, I would like to ask if there is a, I believe the committee, so perhaps Bruce, although I lost you on my screen, I think you're still there. If you would motion to endorse the climate. Oh,
yes, I'll make a motion that the church endorse the Maine Climate Action Plan.
I see Tom Pryor, a second. Is there any discussion? I'll call on you if you raise your hand. Oh, believe there was one. Marge, did you have a question? We just need you to unmute.
Are you on the state committee, Bruce?
I am not.
Okay. But you are on a church committee?
I'm on the board of the National UCC Environmental Justice Board. But that's at the national level, not the state level.
Okay. I think it's great.
We'll quickly scroll through any other questions. I see no questions. All in favor of endorsing the, and then hold your hands. We got your hand. Excellent. Thank you all for your patience as we scroll. Were there any opposed? And then Linda, it was Bruce's motion, second by Tom. Okay. And Carl, does this sound better now? No. They can hear, but there's an echo. Is that right?
We're still getting an echo here.
All right. Still an echo? Okay.
We're good now.
Okay. So, all right, John, if you could reshare the report, I believe. So, okay. Maybe my report ran out of paper or something because I have stewardship tellers. Oh, thank you, Christine. Okay. Finance, which is Christine. Yep. Here I come again. Here I come. Do you want your report?
Oh, you know what? I got a microphone.
Oh. Here.
Now Tom's got us on multiple microphones here, so we're crazy. So I'm just reporting out for the finance board because we've just had, it's been a crazy year. And a lot of the people that were on the board also have some pretty major jobs that made it difficult. Sorry. But you can hear better if I do this. And I'm being heard, yes? Hodgkins, can you hear me? No. No. Okay. I'm going to turn that off. Now I'm good. Oh, now I'm good? Yeah, am I heard now? Andersons, can you hear us? No.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because I'm on red. All right, that's off. All right, now I think I can be heard. Yes? Yes, okay, I see yes. Sorry. It's easier on Sunday morning. Who'd have thought when we're all at our own microphones? But we're glad we can do this. The finance board, it's been its first year. This was just created in the newest bylaws that, as we read, were instituted last year. And so it was a beginning year of that. And we're going to be working in the coming year more on long-term planning and strategic planning on how do we use our finances in the best year and be a church that plans for more than just 1 year at a time. That's what we've often done. And we are looking for some more people to be part of that. So strategic thinking is and planning is some of the things that you love to do, just let me know and we'll talk to you about being part of the finance. But we look forward to creating what is now considered long-term plans, which means 3 to 5 years. Thank you all very much.
I'm just going to give this back to you. Thank you. Any questions for Christine? Okay. Seeing none, and none coming through the chat. Okay. Investment Committee. Bruce, do you have any comments, or does the report as written stand? I can't see you. Oh. Okay. Bruce Shooker, do you have any comments about the investment committee report, or is it good to go? Okay. All right. Thank you. I couldn't find. All right. The next report from the Stewardship Committee. Bill Jenks, do you have any additions?
Nothing to add except, again, thank you to everyone for the great support of this wonderful congregation. Pledges are still coming in, so if you're one of those people who has misplaced your pledge card or never got one or whatever, it's not too late. You can still pledge, and we will gratefully receive any pledge cards that are still outstanding. But it's been a good year, and I have really nothing to add to the written report.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for stewardship? And it is most easy for me to see if you have a question if you put it in the chat. So I'll continue to monitor. Okay. So I see tellers and community outreach still to go. Heather, would you like to provide your presentation? Yeah.
Sure. Can you hear me without an echo? Okay.
We're unsharing. Oop.
Is the audio okay? Thanks. All right, you're sharing your screen. I'm going to try to, let's see. Okay. So share screen is here. Okay. See, I have to talk through it, guys. Sorry. So
Okay.
You'll hear what's going on inside my head. All right. So quickly, I will share this and you'll see everything double. And then I'm going to slip this over here. Do that. Do that. And go like that. Yeah. It's not, you're not seeing the right thing. So we're going to close that. I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to start it again, but I'm going to share a different screen because that's how this is going to work. So this time I'm going to do this one and share. And I'm going to slip this guy back over here. Nope, I'm not going to slip it back over because that's what it's trying to trick me. Go like this. Do you see a slide that says a new logo? Yeah. All right, we did it. So that was good. Okay, so I'm talking today on behalf of the Board of Community Outreach. So that's Hannah Sirwa, Glenna Sayward, and Steve Smith. And so we've been working on this logo thing. So let's get into it. Now click something and perfect. All right, let's get that out of the way. All right, so the question is, what what are we trying to do here? So I wanted to bring you guys back to what we felt the question presented to us was. And that was figuring out what our brand was as First Parish. And so the whole goal of branding is to answer the question, how do we want others to perceive us? And so what you do is you create that brand, and a logo is a big part of it, will help create an identity that will evoke certain traits or characteristics, kind of concrete things. So as you can see from here, you can be big and have a nice logo, and you can be little and you can have a really nice logo too. So that's just kind of a reminder that even the small can have something that really gives a good, creates a really powerful first impression. So let's go to the next slide. So where did we get this input? We need to know what those traits are, right? So we went back to all of the great information that we have had way back a couple of years ago when we were doing our visioning. We got awesome feedback. And though that feedback was also, a lot of it was supported by all the stewardship conversations that have been going on more recently. And the questions that have been asked were, what does First Parish mean to you? What's important? What do you want the future to look like? And one of the big things was, where are we and what should our place be in the community? And that's why the Board of Community Outreach is here, because that question turned out to be pretty important. So some of the things that emerged from that, let's see, here we go. So the output was our sense of community and the power of our fellowship. That was something super important to a lot of people, that we're welcoming, that we are always learning and never assume that we know everything. Certainly promoting the teachings of Christ are central to who we are, and also that we want to be involved in the wider community, whether that's local, state, world. We don't want to be an island. And there's also that practical consideration that we need to be out there more and show people that we're here. We need to grow. We need to attract new members because we want to continue to be around doing good work and providing all those important things, the fellowship and the welcome. And so then we took all that direct feedback, all of the quotes and all of those bullet points, and put them down into a couple of key phrases, key words that we want to always be coming back to when we're thinking about First Parish: exploring beliefs, inclusive action, and creating community. And then we wanted to crystallize those down even further. And what we came up with there was explore, act, and create. So those are some action verbs that that should be at the center of the things that we are trying to do and be as a church. So, and I should ask now, and I can't see everybody's faces, but I got something in the mail yesterday. I don't know if anybody else did, so it might have stolen my thunder a little bit on this next slide. But if it doesn't, hopefully you now have context for what you got in the mail. But if not, here is the new logo that we worked on with Kate Clark, who is a local designer. She did a great job taking those words and putting them into action for us and into an image. And so this is what we came up with. And what Kate helped us do was take our words and bring them into something that has a simple and clean design, using motion and color to do that, to evoke action and creativity. It's something that's different from what you see other places. So it's professional, playful, and also this really translates well to when you want to put it on a web page or on a piece of paper, or on a sticker, which is what is being sent to everybody. If you haven't gotten them already, that's what you will soon have, is a bunch of these little guys here, which you can stick everywhere. Water bottles, laptops, not quite big enough for a car, but we're working on that. So that's what we came up with. And thank you. We were so, it was a pleasure to do this work, and we were so helped by how many people had been very, very generous with their feedback to Christine and the other members of the stewardship committee who went out and had all those important conversations. So thank you for helping us identify some trends that we could then work with a professional to bring into a picture for you. And this is today, this logo will not be around in 50 years or 20 years or 10 years, but it's where we figure it's a pretty good interpretation of where we are now and where we're going. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, Heather.
Sure.
If you unshare, then we can see people and see if anybody. Oh, Heather, can you unshare so that we can see people again?
Yep. This is going to take me a sec. Oh, here we go. New share. Stop
Almost.
share. Awesome. Did I do it?
Okay. Does anyone
Awesome.
have, does
Anyone have any questions for Heather or other members of the Community Outreach Committee? I'm gonna scroll through. Yep. I see thumbs up. Is that? Oh. As soon as we unmute. Excellent. Okay, I'm muted now, so you won't hear. Whoops. Thank you, Heather, and the members of the Community Outreach Committee. It's very exciting to see the color, and I'm wearing my sticker, and my kids have stuck them lots of places at home. Tablets and water bottles, so look forward to seeing those around Gorham and our members. So our next agenda item is a report from Christine Southard. So Christine, if you would unmute, I will stop talking so you don't get the feedback.
There, I can unmute. Well, hello, everyone. I trust that anyone that looked at the budget actually got the right one that Leslie emailed out yesterday, because we had a little oopsie in the report and put in last year's information, which luckily Maynard actually looked at these things, so he spotted it in time to save the day. So thank you, Maynard. So 2020 finished with about a $17,000 in the black, like a surplus. But we had almost $2,000 of debt from the previous year that we rolled over. So we ended up with $15,000 extra. And there were two reasons for that. One was that we got a $40,000 loan from the payroll protection plan, which as yet has not been forgiven, but we're anticipating that it will be. So after we gave North Gorham some money to cover a period of David Farrington's salary, our net proceeds from that loan were around $35,000, which was very fortunate because it pretty much made up for the money we didn't make from the Christmas fair, from chicken pie dinners that we couldn't do, and mostly the renting out of the building. The other reason that we ended up with a surplus was that we cut back on spending. Mainly trustees, they saved quite a lot of money with some projects that they have. Unfortunately, they've been kicked down the road, so we will have to revisit them eventually. But for this year, we're good. So that's pretty much 2020. I would also like to mention that Betty Files left her estate to the church. That will be handled by an outside company, and we'll be getting we got to check this year for $4,000 or $5,000, and next year will be between 12 and 14, and that, the way it's set up, will go on in forever. Basically, we'll be taking so much percentage of that money every year. So that is a new line that got added in for 2021. So that's 2020. We ended up with about 15,000 extra. So now, unless there's any questions about that, I'll go into the proposed budget for 2021.
Any questions? You can unmute. Okay. Christine, carry on with 2021.
Excellent. Okay, so 2021. We approached the 2021 budget as 3/4 of the year still in COVID, and then the last 3 coming out of COVID. So basically a flip-flop of 2020. So we felt like the numbers from 2020 were pretty good. So for the most part, those are the numbers we used to come up with the 2021. So for this year's pledges, Executive Council decided to estimate 146,000 for pledges that would be made for this year. Unfortunately, as of yesterday, they're only at about 143. So that's a $3,000 that we don't have yet. So hold that 3,000 in the back of your mind. We'll talk about it when we get to the end. So we don't know. We don't believe that the Christmas fair and probably chicken pie, none of that will be back to normal this year. So we made almost $7,000 on the Christmas fair this year. And I think that we probably learned quite a bit how to do that online. So we bumped up the total for next year a little bit, not up to what it would be if we could all be in Fellowship Hall and in the church and all of that. The chicken pie line is quite a bit smaller, and that also, at least how we're keeping track of it right now, has money for any other kind of food fundraising we might do, like the haddock chowder that got sold, that went into the chicken pie line, just to keep it all together, I guess. I don't know if that's the cleanest way to do it, but that's how we did it. And then in the endowments, we built the budget on a 5% withdrawal for this coming year, which I'm sure you will probably remember requires a congregational vote. So when we decide to vote on the budget, that will also have to be in that motion, that that the congregation approves of 5% withdrawal. Also, let's see, in income, the ministerial fund this year was down a couple thousand from last year. So that's a little less income that we needed to make up in other ways. We also this year, if you've looked at the budget, and I'm sure most of you have, there are some new lines. There's a, what was it called? Elizabeth E. and Cornelia K. Files Trust, and that's the money from Betty Files, and that's what she wanted that named. And that money is to go for church purposes, and at some point, I guess we'll be discussing what that purpose might be. But we added in a line to account for the income that we will be getting from that, and a little bit of that was put under the control of community outreach to help boost their budget a little bit. There's also some new lines. There's a Lecky Brown and a P Brown and a Music Memorial and a Rodney Quinn Deacons Fund. These are all designated funds that we've gotten money over the years, and they're invested at Merrill Lynch. And we've decided this year that we could take 4%. These are all funds that are sort of ongoing. So if we take the traditional 4% of those, they will keep their principal value, and then we can add that cash for the purposes that they're intended for. Lucky Brown is to help with the Lucky Brown Center now funds it for the older parishioners, friends. And P Brown is Pilgrim Lodge scholarships. Music Memorials is just money that's been given and was invested. And Rodney Quinn, we were remembered in his will. So we've added 4% from each of those, and we would do that ongoing. If all the money were not spent this year, then that money would roll over next year. And then there are a few, you'll see sprinkled in the 2021 budget some technology lines, and that's for our new way of doing church. Faith Exploration needs to pay for Zoom to talk to the kids, and the office needs some things, and we put one under trustees, basically for the worship service, but we're assuming that technology would need to connect into technology that trustees is responsible for. So we just added it in there. Okay, so since the pledges are actually $3,000 less than what is in the budget, when you get to the end, there is a, oh gosh. So it ends up, you have to add, there's currently in the correct budget for 2021, there's almost a $17,000 deficit between what we expect for income and what we expect to spend. So you need to add that 3,000 onto there. So basically there's a $20,000 deficit that somehow we need to take care of. And one way, well, there's many ways, I suppose, but one way is that we do have $15,000 of rollover from last year. So that would bring the deficit to around $5,000. And then if we're down to $5,000, then we have a church-wide memorial fund that is also invested at Merrill Lynch, and which is an expendable line. So we don't need to only take 4%. We can take whatever we want, whenever we want. So we can easily plug any deficit, whether it be 5,000 or less, or even a little bit more. There's about, I think about 7,000 in that line, give or take, maybe close to 8. It might be close to 8 by the end of next year. We wouldn't take that money out until the end of the year if we needed it. So that's kind of how we're proposing to make this all balance out. But we also would, oh, and the other thing is there is another round of PPP, and Maynard has, even though Maynard is getting done with all of this, he has offered to spearhead the second PPP application since he's so versed in it now. Oh, there it is.
He's got the paperwork.
Yeah, we've been working on it. So I think that, did I hit everything, Maynard?
You hit hard. Yes, you did. Yes.
I'm sure Maynard would tell you more, but I like to hit the highlights.
Thank you, Christine. Oh, thanks, Tom. Do we have any questions for Christine or Maynard? You can unmute. Oh, Maynard, you have a question?
Well, comment. Appreciate Christine's work and efforts here. That she does a wonderful job, and I believe this is quite clear for everyone to understand. A couple comments and really one recommendation. I'll get right to it. I'm not really that comfortable with putting an estimate in for the pledges. We haven't done that in the past. We've always taken the exact dollar amount that we have to date and put that in. Sadly, since I've been around, we've never literally collected every single dollar of pledge. We've come close a few times, but never collected every single dollar. So now if we embellish even that number, we're really pushing that envelope. We estimate a lot of income, Christmas fair, chicken pie, and those are all good estimates and usually pretty close. But I'm not so comfortable with the beginnings of creating an estimate. Now, I wouldn't be opposed. We already have a bunch of these other lines, prior year and extra giving by pledgers. I wouldn't be opposed to another line that was late pledges. So, if stewardship is pretty confident that there's $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7,000 more that's going to come in, well, let's put it in the late pledge line, or just leave it alone and just land on our sword here and just put in what we really are receiving to date. It'll be what it'll be, but I'd prefer that we're a little more accurate with that. And I also wanted to say,
can we respond to that comment first, Maynard, or does that work? And Misty, not to call you out, but I'd love for your description of the budget, because every other item that we have as an income line is an estimate, and that's what a budget is. So we could to today, I don't know who's currently writing their pledge card out now that had forgotten, but that number will constantly be evolving, and we need to have a target. And so this year we decided to, it's not grossly overestimated, but I think you all should take a look at that number, and we need to have a goal. I think it's, we can't have it be specific for the budget every year. So Misty, do you mind giving your budget comments?
Sure. So Maynard, I certainly understand where you're coming from with the specificity, I can't even say that word now, but you know what I'm trying to say. I understand, I think when we were talking at Executive Council, which was earlier in the month of January, we saw that number was moving and wanted to provide a number that we could publish within the annual report that would represent what was the best educated guess as to what we might receive, rather than have a number that continued to need to be updated as we got closer to press. And so that's the primary reason for that, because as Naomi says, so many things within the budget are estimates. I mean, that's the nature of a budget, as we can all appreciate. It's our best guess at things. And so this represents, and honestly, as we've gotten closer to press time, we have received some pledges in. So I think we're trending in the right direction. So I think, that's exactly right, Naomi, to everyone sitting out there that maybe hasn't, put their pledge card in and sees this, we're counting on you. So that's, I think that's what we were trying to do, Maynard. And again, it wasn't a number that was so far, it wasn't a reach goal. And I think we've talked through reach goals in the past as well. This did not represent a reach goal. Instead, it really represented our most educated guess at that figure.
Thanks, Misty. I don't know, Bill, if I'm muted now. I don't know, Bill Jenks, if you have any comments from a stewardship perspective.
Yeah, I thank you, and I agree with what Misty just said. This is not an outlandish estimate of pledges yet to come in. It's based off of clear expectations. As a matter of fact, another pledge came in this morning, so that there's the number that's in there. There's less of a gap between what we have in hand and what's in the budget, and I think that will more than close that gap. Realistically, I think we can expect to have at least 146,000 in pledges. I'm confident that we will.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm willing to end the discussion without a motion.
Maynard, you had a second question too, I believe.
Yes, I'm willing to end this discussion without any further discussion or motion.
Oh, okay.
Unless anybody else.
Any other comments? And then if not, we'll have a motion.
I just wanted to say something directed to Barbara Guimond. Barbara, I just wanted to say we're very pleased that we didn't have to spend any of the very, very precious music money for last year's budget. So we're hoping that you can retain that for whatever needs and purposes music wants in the future. You're muted.
Maynard, what we're hoping to spend next year is our voices.
Them again.
Okay. Whatever works, great. And I'll just say one last thing, or maybe, who knows, might not be. We are applying, I'm bringing in the application tomorrow to Gorham Savings for another, it's called the second draw of the PPP, as Christine mentioned. And the numbers work out where it's actually more money than what we got in 2020 if we get approved. So we'll see, and there'll have to be some discussion, I suppose, later, how we deal with that money, but there's a good chance we'll get that. I'm done.
And I'd just like to say that at some point, the actual pledge number will be in the budget. It just won't be in the annual report, right. But it will be updated on everything else so that the actual number is being used.
Great. Can you mute me? Sorry, we have to mute the TV, and then I can't hear you if I'm talking and you get the feedback. So we'll figure this out. So I think what I heard Maynard say was that he potentially would like to motion to approve the budget. Hold on, I won't be able to hear you. Approve the budget, but I wanted to, no, he just wanted to end it without any further discussion. Okay, so I'm going to quickly have John scroll through and see if there are any other folks that would like to unmute themselves and speak. And I'm going to have Tom unmute the TV so we can hear you. And I'll stop talking. All right, mute him. Okay, so I did not see any further comments or discussion. So I think what is on the table right now, and Christine Southard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said it would be a motion to approve the budget as printed with the approval to draw up to 5% of the investment income if needed for our 2021 budget. So I'm going to have Tom unmute us, and I'm going to see if anyone has a motion to move that forward.
So move.
Thank you, Bill. A second?
Second.
Cindy
I
Smith?
second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, muted ourselves again. Okay, all in favor? And hold your hands.
Screen two? I don't need to count, we just, yeah, screen three? Okay, yes, we have them.
Excellent, thank you all. Okay. Now we have Kim, the report from the nominating committee. Before you get started, again, just wanted to thank you for your service as the interim clerk. And I also wanted to acknowledge several of our members that are transitioning from their committees. So we have Nan and Karen from the Deacons, Neil Piper from the Board of Trustees, Amy Wyatt as chair of the Missions Committee. These are all chairs. Terry Chamberlain as chair of the tellers, and then as Christine Southard mentioned, Maynard as financial secretary. So thank you all so very much. Don't go far. And Maynard, thank you for your continuing to work with us on the payroll protection program. So Kim, it's your turn.
Thank you. Naomi, I'm really glad that you gave those acknowledgements because the list is huge and impressive for the amount that people volunteer services to First Parish. And this past year has been a very unusual year. And looking at Board of Deacons, for instance, moving forward with 8 current members, knowing that at some point in the future we'll need 12 again. And I appreciate Naomi thanking me to be as interim clerk, but really my role was very minor and even not fulfilling needs that needed to happen. So you're very humble to say that because Naomi, you took the brunt of that and ran with it. So thank you for being who you are and being so dedicated to the church. So thank you to the people who Terry, Linda Fates, and I were able to connect with and work towards some new positions on boards and committees. You can see from the list that we are needing people on the Board of Trustees. There should be one more name there. I believe Steve Roberts had agreed to, and I just simply didn't get his name on a list in time prior to publication, so that was my error. But we definitely need people on Board of Trustees. As Christine Dyke mentioned earlier, we need more folks on Board of Finance. And I believe Faith Exploration could use a helping hand again, still. I think we still had one slot open on missions, but that may have been filled. Missions is in pretty good shape. Part of this I'm going to own in my personal life. I have been unable to make all the calls at night and trying to connect with people. So that's a part of why some of these lists are incomplete, and I will own some of that. But I do reach out to everybody, and especially we're really needing trustees and we really need a financial secretary. I see a hand from Jane Sharon. Jane, do you have something you want to add or volunteer for? And that might be more Naomi's role than mine to call on somebody, but I'm not sure what else to report out on, but again, a big thank you to folks who tirelessly do so much for First Parish. I am beyond impressed, and when I talk to people about how much our church has continued to thrive during this time of COVID, it is pretty remarkable. Back to
Thanks,
you, Naomi.
Kim. Thank you. So typically we would have had all of the new church leaders come up to the front here in the sanctuary for the installation. So I would just ask, maybe at your house, if you are one of the new committee members, to just stand, and I'm going to turn it over to Christine to install our new church leaders. So thank you all.
John, can you unshare? Thank you. Thank you all again to those who have been on committees and your terms are now up, and especially to the chairs that have made this work, especially during COVID. I feel like we got almost like a whole month off, and then committees were up and running again, and it was pretty amazing the work that could be done and how we could be together that way. So for those new folks that are coming on, I know we had people come on even mid-year. The nicest thing I hear is when I get a call from somebody and they go, you know what, I just joined the church and I would like to be on the committee. Can I be on this committee? The answer is always yes. So we're just so pleased. And some of our new members are on committees already, and we're just so thankful that you're jumping in with both feet too. But for those who are now on, if you would, let's all gather together and let's pray. Gracious God, indeed, you give us many gifts, and you ask us to express those gifts in many ways in this your world, and particularly this your church. We thank you for the energy and the time that people are willing to give hands and feet and heart to the mission of not only this church, but the mission of your love in this world. Bless the people now who are going to take leadership, who are taking membership on these committees and boards. May, God, we work together so that your mission of love may be fulfilled in this your world. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, so we are to the end. I would like to just I'll pause and just see if anyone else has anything to share before we conclude, and Christine ends with the benediction. Don't go far.
I would just like to say that it is so lovely to see faces and hear voices that I haven't seen or heard in a long time, and it makes my heart so happy.
Oh, Allie. Oh. I can't see anyone now. Okay. Wonderful. Oh, there's the heart symbol. Thank you, Beth. All right, I'm turning it back over to Christine, and although I guess we'll adjourn, then do the benediction. Kind of feel like we should do the benediction, then adjourn, but why don't, do we have a motion to adjourn our 271st first annual or first virtual meeting? I see Carl Anderson, a second, and Rhonda. Again, don't have my glasses on. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Wonderful. Great. Turning it over to Christine.
Yes, indeed. I was, thank you for that. And thank you for your comments too, Allie, because it is true. When I talk with other ministers about what we do as a church, that half an hour to 20 minutes before church starts, where everybody gets on and talks to everybody and checks in with everybody, that is what all the craziness with Zoom and all this live stuff that we have to do, that is worth it all, just to see and hear those voices and your faces. So we're so glad that we can. So indeed, our worship as work has now come to an end again, but we know our work as worship in God's world is beginning again as we begin this new year together. May God's peace be with us, and may we create God's peace here and everywhere together. Amen. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Oh, Christine said you can unmute yourselves and chat if you would like.
Amy Letty, it's nice to see you outstanding in your field, Amy Letty.
Must be a farmer.
Hey, you guys, from Maine
Nice to see everybody.
From Florida to Maine, thank you so much for running this church the way you've been so that I still participate.
Good.
Thank you, Bev.
See you, Bev.
Oh, hi, John. Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, Ally. And she's my sister.
Ben, where are you? Can't see you.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Glenn.
Hi,
Ben.
Mariana.
It's so nice to see you.
It's lovely to see you. To be here.
It's been so long.
I know. Way too long, huh?
You can join
us next Sunday on Zoom.
Really?
Right.
Sister.
Your tulips will have faded by then, Cindy.
I know, but I should have changed it. My amaryllis opened today during church when we're having Zoom. So I have a new picture for next week.
Oh, good.
Hi, Deanne. You're muted.
Hi, how are you?
Whoops, you're still muted.
Hi, Deanne.
Hello.
You know what? I hope you understood it, but we are the word parishioners was used for outsiders in the last report. We're all members, and the people who are not members but hang around the church and want to join in were referred to as parishioners. So I suggested we call them friends instead, because parishioners sounds as if the same as members to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the muddle. So now we're either members or friends.
Thank you.
That was what
We
I mean.
hope
I
all
wanted
our
to
friends are
explain that I
members.
wasn't sort of making a fuss over nothing.
No, I appreciate that. I just have been referring to members as parishioners. So now I will
Exactly. Well,
be
I would have
careful
thought
not to.
members and parishioners were synonymous. Well, you don't have to, because we'll call the people who haven't yet joined friends.
Friends.
Which
I see
made
now.
more sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like the word members better than parishioners, actually. So
Well, I think we go with members. I think
yeah,
that's what
okay.
people
Thank
do.
you. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Oh,
Bye, all.
Hi, Tom.
Have a good day.
You too.
Enjoy the snow.
Yeah, or stay out of it, right? Do you know one thing I could not believe, looking at the list of expenses, we only spent $90 less on water for the year. And when you consider how many thousand times less the toilets must have been flushed, I can't understand that.
That's true.
Yeah, very weird. Whatever.
Do we
Where's
have
your amaryllis?
low water toilet? I
don't know.
We'll
Maybe
see
there's-
everybody next week.
Yes, indeed.
take care,
Yes.
Cindy.
Okay.
Your
Bye-bye.
amaryllis is beautiful. Oh,
Isn't
thanks. It was
it?
my Christmas
Gorgeous.
present. It's finally blooming. Wow,
Lovely.
gorgeous. I didn't drop the pot and have it break, right?
Yes,
It hasn't
yes.
fallen apart yet. We'll see you next week.
Yes,
Take
indeed. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
And before you go, how is Sam doing?
Oh, he's fine. He seemed a little bit sad the first few weeks he went back to school. But of course, we don't know what's going on.
Oh,
But I think it had to do with relationship things. And I think it's straightened out now. So thanks for asking. He seems to like his classes. Yeah.
good.
Yeah. How are your boys doing?
They're doing well. They're hanging in there, despite the fact that they're both in hot spots and,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
all is good.
Yeah, I especially think of Sunil for that, but I guess they both are then.
Yes, they are. They both are.
Won't it be great when the spring comes and they can get outside and
Yes.
go
And
to the
maybe
beach?
come and visit us this summer.
Oh.
Because we'll have had our vaccines. I don't know about them.
Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah, we don't have any plans yet for vaccine, but we are getting the N95 masks at work.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're getting fitted for them, so that'll be easier than what we're doing now.
Have you had your vaccine yet, B?
No, I did all the right things and applied online, telephoned and gave them my information, but no word back yet.
Yes, so thank you all. We're still trying to, Naomi is working on Jason. Oops. I dropped the call. Oh, no, maybe I didn't. No, it dropped off here. Okay. It's still on. Of course I didn't drop the call. To be, am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, no, we can't.
Right. Since Christine's conversation changed, I wanted to say my excitement around here has been growing sprouts. Yeah, and my mom told me even you can sprout lettuce. So I tried it, and I just cut off the bottom of a head of romaine lettuce, put it in water, and it's growing a new plant in the middle of it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how big it will get, and it actually seems to not look very good to eat. It's kind of oxidized or something. But the reason I'm doing that is it's green in the sense of it would save people from buying cans of food, right? You know, if you grow your own in little containers in your house, even in winter. So
yeah.
Trying to get ideas about that and learn more about that. I don't know if our winters are long enough for tomatoes, but or I mean enough sunlight, sorry. For
I've
days
seen
are long.
online that you can get kits with like spinach sprouts and lettuce sprouts and things that you can put in the salad. I haven't done it, but I would think that would be very yummy.
Yeah, maybe from the hardware store or something. I know O'Donnell seems to be pretty closed, but maybe
Oh, they're open again. They opened this week. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good.
I'll send it to you, Deanne. A friend of mine who lives in Connecticut has a grow tower, I think she calls it. One of those things, rather like a strawberry planter with little holes all up at the side and
Yes.
around. And she puts in, I think she puts in it compost in at the top and it works its way down. And I think she has worms in it. And it's amazing what she grows, even during the winter. She has Swiss chard and all kinds of stuff growing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a growing tower at Carter's Green Market here in Gorham. And it was mostly for little things like lettuce. Chard sounds amazing. But yeah, I was impressed with it. So thank you for that reminder. I just, and so I was thinking too of how, with the pandemic, there isn't enough, it seems like there isn't enough food in the food pantry or, there's quite a demand. So I thought, why can't we grow our own food more? So maybe I'll make an article and people can respond to it and people will get ideas to to kill two birds with one stone.
She
It would
had
seem like
success
we could do more
regrowing
with
celery too.
What's that?
greenhouse. Seems like we could do more with greenhouses.
Yeah. Or even, I was thinking, what about solar greenhouses?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or I don't know about hydroponics. I'd like to learn more about that too. I've never done it.
That's interesting. No,
And B, you were talking about celery.
Oh, this friend also did what you did with the base of the romaine lettuce. She did it with a thing of celery, and it started growing new celery shoots.
Wow. Did she
Yeah,
say they
yeah.
got really long?
She didn't. She showed a photograph of it. I think it had grown up about 3 or 4 inches. I mean, it was more than just a little teeny bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I suppose
so
if you
worth
cut it and
investigating.
eat it, that it'll grow more.
Oh, maybe.
I would think so, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like Jack and the Beanstalk.
The
Yeah,
never-ending celery plant.
Thank you for mentioning that, Bee.
You're welcome.
Are you growing some flowers in your house in the winter? I know you do summer flowers outside.
I've got amaryllis, which are blooming, which are looking gorgeous. I've also